which is the poisoned apple. And when this first started going down in March of 2020, the very first week, Spirit was giving a lot of advice about DNA upgrade and physical body upgrade, spiritual upgrade. And then right around March 23rd, 24th, the Spirit said to me, give you the virus, sell you the cure. And it was the first time that I had my kind of antenna up that things are not going to be lining up with what Spirit was sharing versus what the narrative was going to be sharing moving forward. And while injections had not really been talked about yet publicly, Spirit was showing me that everything was funneling us toward a greater agenda. And way back in the day when those QR codes first came out, Spirit said to me, "Mark of the beast." And I remember thinking at the time, that seems a little like innocuous to be considered the mark of the beast. And now I understand this funneling that we're moving towards, where our humanity is being stripped from us and we are being kind of attached to a QR code. We are becoming scannable. We are becoming ownable. And it's all purposeful. In fact, those of us who have been following along know that the Luciferian agenda must tell you what they are doing. In fact, they take such pride in putting it kind of in our faces to the point where we are consenting from their perspective. And a lot, they really believe that the karma is on us because they're showing us, what they're doing. We're choosing to have either blind eye to it, to not use discernment. And so from their perspective, humanity is asking for this. And you see this a lot in movies where the evil villain is like, humanity wants to be controlled, and to some extent, I think we have to say that, they might be right. And we are being given an opportunity from Spirit to recognize that we have been given a poisoned apple. And this is not just in this particular last 2 years, but that we have been given the poison apple for quite some time. And this goes back to the distorted narrative around the creation stories and Adam and Eve, and how, the divine feminine is always, and the serpent are always getting like the bad rap in these stories. And we're never really looking at the greater picture of what did that narrative really mean? And was it consciousness that we actually were removed from, or we descended in, due to certain choices of choosing knowledge over wisdom? And did we choose knowledge because we actually wanted to experience separation so that we could stitch or weave ourselves back together and finally know ourselves as source, as the complete reflection of the divine spark? And Spirit will often say that the soul needs an oppressor. And so we are being given an oppressor. We're being given many oppressors. And when I was tapping into the theme today, on my run this morning, I just kept hearing poison, poison, poison. And this, we had talked before the recorded call about how there's been a bunch going on in the weave around snake venom poisoning this week, and how there's been a lot of sensationalizing it to a point where it's hard to grasp or discern what is actually true, because there's so much hype or emotion around it that is distorting it. And Spirit really wanted me to focus on the words venom and poison, and not around any of the animals or any of the fear or propaganda that is surrounding it, but to focus instead on the energy of what does it mean to be poisoned, or what does it mean if we say that we have venom in our consciousness. And specifically going back to that, give you the virus, sell you the cure, because when we were first, still calling this the coronavirus back in the beginning, Spirit continued to tell me that this was a spiritual virus. This was a thought virus, and not to be concerned about my physical form, but be concerned about catching this thought virus. And now Spirit is saying, focus on the venom, focus on the poison. And so it's very interesting this week, because you would hear poison again in regard to Elon Musk and his bid to take over Twitter, and Twitter enacting this poison pill. And then spirit brings my attention to the apple and the bite out of the apple on my iPad, and the fact that we use something called an Android, which is it's connecting once again, leading humanity towards this what is Twitter poison pill? Oh, okay. Tom is asking in the chat. So the poison pill is, and I'm no expert on any of this stuff, but Elon Musk bought shares in Twitter and is wanting to, from what he's saying, bring free speech to that platform again. And the the board is enacting something called a poison pill, where they're, I believe, allowing shareholders to buy stock at a much lower rate, which would dilute the company and make it much harder for what they call a hostile takeover to happen, because he wants to actually purchase it and turn it into a platform for free speech. And right now, the board is not allowing that to take place. So they're calling it the poison pill. And so that is also in the collective consciousness right now, all over Twitter. And I'm not on Twitter, but Spirit has alerted me that this is another big thing in the collective weave. But it all goes back to this energy of poison. And I heard today, I was listening, in fact, it might have even been that interview we were discussing before the call, but they were saying that the difference between treatment and poison is often dosage in medical terms. And Spirit is saying that is true as well within the greater weave, within our soul, that sometimes what the human is perceiving as poison in our weave is actually just what we need to get beyond that wall of oppression that maybe we were having for ourselves. Like we needed an outside force to actually bring this to our full attention. And here we are talking about this theme of poisoned apples. And the very first lyrics are, "Stay out super late, picking apples, making pies. Put a little something in our lemonade and take it with us. We're half awake in a fake empire." And I thought, my God, like that couldn't be more spot on. Put a little something in our lemonade and take it with us. And I think a lot of us feel that way about the injections, that, right now we're feeling half awake in a fake empire. And within the poisoned apple, we're going to speak to the energies of scarcity consciousness. What did this poisoned apple consciousness bring to humanity? The true poisoned apple. And how do we regain our true wealth? What type of strength is being called for here to realize our full potential? And what type of archonic retaliation can we actually expect? And because we expect it, then know how to move through that with discernment and without fear. And then we're going to follow up with Spirit's practical solution, which is right now we need to be in energetic exchange with others in order to be healthy. And this involves creative brainstorming, and it leads toward a total transformation. I've been talking a lot in my mentorships lately that we are not really the caterpillar and we're not really the butterfly. We're kind of still in that amorphous shape that is really not one or the other, as a collective. Even if we may have moved through that process individually, we are still one as a humanity, and we are all collectively moving through that process right now. The next lyrics that came up were, "Johnny Cash said love would burn. I never thought it hurt this bad. While I'm so tired of the rain falling softly on the ground, just enough to get my feet wet, but not enough to let me drown." And there's this feeling of Spirit acknowledging how hard it is for the human, where it's like, man, like my socks are freaking wet again in this reality. Like, can I catch a break? Like we're never drowning really, but it can start to feel like we're drowning. And here's where the archonic energies come in. And the lyrics were, "You're the itch that's on my back. You're the gum under my shoe. You're the horrors of my past. You're the chill that haunts the room. You're the creaking on my steps. You are cancer. You are plague. You are regret. You are disease. I wish you would go away." And I think any of us who have felt like we are under their attack or under that type of retaliatory energy, it does bring up every fear and every panic and every trauma. And every time that you move through it, you think, well, next time it's surely not going to be that bad because, you know, like I know it now. And no, it's never, at least in my experience, it's never easier. You have better tools, better skills, maybe better vantage points, but the intensity has always been the same.